And now, you're tuned into RBLR, the home of Tampa Bay's Reveler Sports.
Hello and welcome back to your RBLR Rays show. Thank you again for tuning in and listening, whether it's your first time or you're a returning viewer. It's great to have you aboard. I am Pat Davenport and I am joined by a pair of excellent co-hosts this week. I am joined by, first of all, the incredible Carter Bradley. Carter, how are you doing?
Oh, I'm doing well, man. The Rays have won 2 in a row. You know, I know it was a rough week. We'll get into it, but yeah, super excited to talk some Rays baseball with y'all because you know it's baseball season. Even when the things are tough, it's still better than no baseball season. So
absolutely,
yeah,
absolutely. We're gonna miss it. We're gonna miss it when it's gone. Whatever happens the rest of the season, because it is a long, dark, and cold off season, particularly here in the UK. Let me tell you that. And I'm also joined by our incredible second co-host, and that is Remy Bunikevich. Remy, how are you doing?
Doing well. How about you, Pat?
I'm doing just swell. I'm in a new place. I've just moved house last week. That's why I wasn't here. I'm still kind of setting up the new place. So if you hear any kind of reverb or echo, it's because the rooms are still a little empty, yet to be fully unpacked. Unpacking is the worst for anyone that's moved. Moving house is hard. So I'm really having a lot of sympathy for people that were moved at the trade deadline, because moving house is not an easy thing to do. I imagine like when Longoria was traded from Tampa to San Francisco, having to move all of his stuff over all the way across to the West Coast. It's not the move. It's not the move. Speaking of moves, we've got a lot to talk about this week. We're going to be talking about some of the moves that we made a couple of weeks ago at the trade deadline, because we have got lots of new faces in, and we're going to try and figure out where they all fit in both the short-term and long-term plans of the Rays. We're also going to talk about the week that was in Rays baseball, a pretty rough series against the Astros, but a much better series against the Diamondbacks. We're going to be talking about an arm of the week, and of course, we're going to be looking for some reasons for optimism as we stay in this kind of 500 purgatory, where every time we win, a loss must come instead, and vice versa. It's been a funny old season, and we're going to talk about it, but reasons for optimism and things to look forward to both this year and in things to come. Before we get into it, if you're a returning viewer, we know how much we talk about the Rays and how much we strive to bring you the best Rays content that we possibly can. So the biggest favor that you can do for us is subscribe on YouTube at RBLR Sports. The link is below me right now. You can drop us a like as well. You can retweet it on X, and you can do all of the sharing on social media that you can. It'll be a great thing that helps us out massively. If you're new, maybe wait, see what you think. And then if you do like what you hear, be sure to drop a follow on the socials and subscribe on YouTube. It's the best way to get our content as soon as it comes out, and you'll be notified whenever we go live, like we are right now. So, without any further ado, let's talk about this week in Rays baseball and start with a real rough Astros series. At home, getting swept 6-1, 3-2, and then an extra innings loss 2-1. Oh, Carter, what went wrong against the Astros?
Man, I mean, the first game just kind of flushed it down the toilet. Not really a big deal there. Taj just had a rough outing. But yeah, the offense looked rough. I mean, they couldn't really touch Kikuchi, and you know, then the Astros bullpen kind of came in and shut them down in that second game. But luckily, Boz looked pretty good. You know, the pitching has been as always, it's been really, really rock solid. But yeah, just not able to produce enough offensively. But you know, they've bounced back really well, the Diamondback series. But you know, that Astros series, yeah, it's rough to get swept at home, rough to get swept in general this time of year, because just the margins are just really razor thin right now for success, especially as they continue to battle for a playoff spot. So yeah, it was a tough series for sure. Not super fun to watch.
No, I mean, when this team struggles offensively, they struggle offensively, right?
Yep.
I think we said this at the deadline when we traded Randy and we traded Isaac, and brought in Morel, and kind of have given more time to Caminero and DeLuca. I don't think the ceiling has particularly changed for this offense, but we have sweep the rug out of the floor of this offense, where now that we're giving time to less experienced and more volatile players, the offense is way more prone to massive slumps, like what happened against the Astros, right? Where Morel is a guy that is still has the power, but is yet to put it together consistently in terms of getting on base with any kind of consistency and getting hits with any kind of consistency. He does have swing and miss in his game. And DeLuca went through a massive, massive skid when he had to take the reins over from Randy. And of course, Caminero is still working things out at the big league level as well consistently. So it's a tough one because you need to go through these growing pains if you want people like Caminero and Morel to become kind of big parts of the roster and consistent everyday players for this team. You've got to give them the major league at-bats and let them adjust to major league pitching. But it does mean we're going to go through some rough skids like we just have. And that car that just went past, I hope that wasn't skidding on his way past.
Stupid
Remy, did the pitching fill you with any kind of confidence, at least in that Astros series?
I mean, they definitely kept the games like relatively close, but as you said, like the offense was really, troubling. The Astros are a great team, and they're still kind of in their playoff window, so they're going to be hard to beat no matter what. I think the Astros pitching actually looked like really good. They were able to shut the Rays down going into like the ninth inning. You see guys like Abreu for them, or Ryan Presley, although he landed on the injured list. And then Josh Hader had a great performance. I think he threw like 30 pitches, 2 innings, and he just shut down the Rays. So I think that the Astros pitching actually looked better than the Rays pitching, but overall the Rays still looked in it for the most part.
Yeah, I mean Bradley not so great, but Bars looked good, and then in that 2-1 game, the pitching was pretty tight on both sides. I think the Astros, like you said, did come out looking really, really good. I mean, at the deadline, we were all talking about that Kikuchi deal and how it seemed like a massive overpay on the surface, but maybe the Astros are the sneaky winners of that Kikuchi deal because he was shoving for them on Tuesday. Yeah, but we have made up for it. We have got a good couple of games against the D-backs. Let's talk about that amazing walk-off, Carter. Let's talk about how that went down. Brandon Lau single up the middle, and somehow the runner scored from first. What? Tell me about how that felt.
I mean, it was crazy to watch live for sure. Yeah, I mean, that Fairbanks home run that he gave up in the top of the inning was just so I mean, it was just a huge drag, because Fairbanks, obviously one of the best relievers in baseball. So to watch him get down to the final strike, and then Corbin Carroll, a guy who's struggled for most of the year, although he's picked it up lately for sure as he recovers from that shoulder injury. He's certainly been a lot better recently, but just watching him crack and then, because it was just he couldn't have served it more on a tee to Corbin Carroll. Like it was just a meatball of a changeup. And it's tough because that changeup has been filthy. Like it's kind of a new pitch, I think, for Pete. And it's been disgusting when he's been able to throw it well, but he threw a bad one and he paid for it. But yeah, like you said, the walk-off was just so much fun, kind of the 2020 World Series style. The outfielder mishandles it, so Johnny DeLuca rounded third and scored. So it was a lot of fun. And then yesterday's game was even more of a blast. I mean, just a lot of weird stuff going on, but hey, it led to a huge win. Not really much to talk about there. Just a lot of good offensive at bats. Brandon Lau, my goodness. I mean, he was hitting some tanks. So just a lot of fun to watch the Rays the past couple of days for sure.
Yeah, both of the lows, both the low and the Lau.
That's right.
Was good in that game.
Yeah.
Josh Lowe stole home in that game as well. Kind of in the
sort of. Yeah, the delayed steal kind of thing. Yeah, that was a weird play. The Diamondbacks catcher, man. I love that this is becoming a thing in Major League Baseball now with stolen bases increasing and everything. Because it was a cool play in high school and stuff, but then once you reach a certain level, then it's okay, these are professional baseball players. They're not going to fall for this, but now they're kind of falling for it, and it's kind of funny. So I'm curious to see how catching and defenses adjust to this whole first and third situation. Maybe they institute plays. I love the pump fake, or maybe you throw act as if you're throwing through to second, and then a shortstop cuts it off, tries to get the guy at home. But luckily for the Rays, the Diamondbacks didn't do any of that. So Josh Lowe was able to score. So yeah, it was really fun to watch.
Yeah, I'm still waiting for a hidden ball trick. I feel like it's been too long since we've seen a hidden ball trick in baseball.
Yeah.
I feel like someone's going to get called out if you just give it a go. I remember, was it Longo did a hidden ball trick at one point and caught someone on third a few years ago? Maybe. I might be making that up.
No, I don't know. The only thing you only ever think of the movies, the little Big League movie with the twins where they do it and they have the hidden ball trick. But I can't remember the last time I saw it in a major league game. But yeah, I love all that stuff, all the trick plays, because it's just, baseball can be a little bit, cookie cutter sometimes. Everything's kind of the same. So including plays is really super fun.
Yeah. Remy, Jeffrey Springs was so good, probably his best start since returning from the IL. And the thing about Springs is, I guess, like, immediately to the eye test, to me, the casual fan, Jeff Springs is not necessarily like a stuff guy. What does he do so well that makes him so great? I guess what's his like secret sauce?
Yeah, I mean, there are definitely a couple things going for him just based off the fact that he's left-handed. Like, there's that natural advantage. He's got two pretty quality pitches, although you're right, like his stuff isn't like, he's not throwing 97 up there. He's just throwing like 88, I think, and a decent changeup. But he has really good like vertical approach angle separation. So just so people understand what's happening, the fastball, it looks relatively flat to the batters, and then his changeup is a steep pitch, so it breaks very late, and then a lot of movement at that point. So I think the vertical approach angle separation is like around -3, -4, which is like really, really good for a pitch. And then, I mean, he just has phenomenal command. So he's able to command the baseball everywhere. And I mean, you saw that in his last start: 4 hits, 1 walk, 7 strikeouts, 5 innings. That looks like a really good Jeff Springs start.
Yeah, and it felt like vintage Jeff Springs as well. Like, it felt like in 2022, was it, when he first started being converted to a starter? He was like the king of the 5 innings, 1 earned run, like loads of soft contact. And the fact that he's right back to doing that is so quickly after coming back to the major league roster is a really, really positive sign. And he's going to be crucial if the Rays are going to do anything this year. And also, I think the Rays are banking on him for being a key part of the rotation next year too.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so let's talk a little bit about some new faces, because Jeffrey Springs is technically a new face, but we got some actual new faces on the team over the past couple of weeks in terms of Christopher Morel, in terms of Hunter Biggie, who's come up and down, but is expected to eventually land permanently on the major league roster. And then, of course, Junior Caminero, the number 2 prospect in all of baseball, getting called up just the other day. He's been playing with semi-regularity. I guess the question is, where do we expect these guys to fit? I think, for me, the obvious fit is Caminero is going to lock down and eventually be the everyday third baseman. I think he's still not the finished product. He's definitely got the raw power, but his contact ability, he's still got a bit of swing and miss while adjusting to major league pitching. And I don't know, do you guys have as many question marks about his defense as some people do? People say, oh, I don't know if he has enough to stick at third. He definitely didn't seem to be able to stick at short, but I think, so from what I've seen, he seems absolutely fine at third base. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I mean, it'll take I'm not the expert or anything by any stretch of the imagination, but I think over time the defensive metrics will kind of, bear out. It's too small of a sample to really say how he'll play at the major league level at third, but he did make some really fantastic plays last night. Just one game, super duper small sample size there. So yeah, he's got a pretty good arm. He seems like he's got the strength to play third, to make that throw across the diamond. But I'm more concerned about Christopher Morel defensively, to be quite honest. He's always an adventure out there, and not usually in the good way. It's kind of been a mess, and I think it'd be best for everyone involved if maybe they just move him to a corner outfield spot for the offseason, maybe send him to a winter league and just be like, hey man, go figure out left field, because he's got a really great arm. Like, he's got massive arm strength, a really good athlete, but he just can't seem to put it all together, which really sucks, because he seems like a great influence in the clubhouse, and like he's really positive, upbeat type of personality. So if he can put it together, which it seems like perfectly capable of, the Rays could really have a really, really nice player, especially if he can kind of figure it out offensively. But yeah, I think Junior's going to be fine. A little bit concerned about Morel. I think the defensive fit there could be a problem if something doesn't change over the offseason. But I'm really excited about Dylan Carlson. He's my favorite trade deadline acquisition, just because he's a switch hitting outfielder, former top prospect with the Cardinals. Maybe the Rays found another former top prospect with the Cardinals, another former Cardinal outfielder that's going to be really successful. Adolis Garcia, Randy Arozarena have been great. So maybe the Rays are striking gold again. That's kind of the hope. So I'm really excited to see how Carlson plays out as well.
Yeah, I think I think you're spot on the money with all of those points. I think I agree that the long-term plan for Morel is a corner outfield because it's been not good.
Yeah.
Whether it's mostly at second base, but he wasn't good at third with the Cubs either.
Right.
So working out where Christopher Morel lands is going to be an interesting puzzle. But I think Randy wasn't exactly the greatest left fielder defensively in the world either.
Right.
So if you could hide him in a corner and just like make use of his arm and make him like a Yoenis Cespedes type, where he's not that much of a glove guy, but can absolutely rocket a throw and then just run into some baseballs. I think that would be the ideal for Morel, but the Rays really like him, so there's got to be something in there. I mean, what are your thoughts, Remy, on Morel?
No, yeah, I mean, Cespedes is a great comp. Like, he's got great bat speed. He hits the ball for extreme power at times, but I would say he's pretty similar to Jose Siri, who we already have on the team, right? He's got some whiffs, but unlike Siri, he doesn't really have that defensive position yet. I think corner outfield could work. I mean, second base, who knows? Maybe you figure out third base at some point. I don't know his capability there. He's got a good arm. So, and he's relatively young, maybe you give it a chance over the offseason and see if it sticks. Going back to Caminero, though, he's only 21. So, like, getting more reps under his belt, like, he could be probably a pretty good third baseman, just into the future. But going back to, like, Carlson, as you said, I don't necessarily know if I have as high expectations as, like, Randy Rosareno or even, like, a Palacios. He just seems like kind of a depth piece that I don't know how they got him for Armstrong. I don't know what the Cardinals are thinking. Like, I don't know. That trade's kind of weird. But Carlson's really good. He's an optionable outfielder. He is definitely pulling more fly balls with the Rays. And it seems like he's been getting less unlucky, like, results-wise, and that's why he's been so good coming to Tampa Bay. So, I mean, I really like all the trades that they made. And then just really quickly touching on Biggie, like, he's going to be high leverage at some point, but he's more of just that optionable arm with, like, really great stuff. So it seems like the Rays are kind of figuring themselves back out again.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's pretty obvious to say that that Caminero is very much in the long-term plans of the team. I would say Morel is likely to be in the long-term plans of the team as well. At least in 2025, he's going to get a run and he's going to get at bats because they were like, this guy's worth Isaac Paredes, so he's got to be worth something. Carlson, do you think he's going to be on the team next year?
I don't know. Probably not. If I had to put money on it, probably not, to be quite honest. But he's a nice, like Remy said, he's a great depth piece. Like, he's a really nice, like, outfield bat to have in your system. Whether he ends up on the active roster or not, he'll be competing for a spot in spring training, I'd imagine. Barring anything, drastic. And he's been hitting the ball well. Like Remy said, the results have been there recently. So if he has a strong finish to the year and he can kind of do some nice work in the offseason, come back strong, he can certainly compete for a spot out there. But, the Rays have a lot of guys like that. The Rays have a lot of position players that are kind of competing for those corner outfield spots. And, I don't really like him in center. I don't think he's a center fielder at all. So they love having Johnny DeLuca out there, which understandable. He's great. So it's just a question of fit with Carlson, unfortunately. And I don't know that long-term that the fit is there, but hey, I'm riding high. I'm super excited. The Rays have a switch hitting outfielder right now. That's just so much fun to watch for sure.
Yeah, Remy, what do you think Carlson's on the team next year?
I was gonna say, if he could turn around, like, the defense a little bit and, like, maybe the results hold, I could see him maybe taking, like, it seems a little absurd, but the starting center field role from Siri, not in terms of defense, but in terms of, like, actual, like, results and production. Who knows? Like, maybe he plays himself into a corner outfield spot at some point. But the problem is that the Rays do have so many corner outfielders. You have Palacios, you have Lau, and then you also have Johnny DeLuca and Meisner too. You have so many guys coming up. It seems a little unlikely that he's in the long-term plans, but he has options. So I would just keep him on the roster and see if something clicks.
Yeah, I think that's where I am. It's an interesting point about Siri because there was a news story that came out, was it yesterday, about Siri, where Kevin Cash was asked about Siri not being in the lineup very much, and he said words to the effect of, "We expect like a certain level of effort that's not being kind of met to be in the lineup, and hopefully he'll learn from this as kind of, he didn't say it was a disciplinary measure, but it certainly like felt that he was saying, listen, you need to put more in, so ride the bench for a bit, and hopefully this will light a fire under you. If it's not disciplinary, it's definitely like, hey man, you need to pick yourself up and go for it a bit more, like motivational, like tough love, if that makes sense. How are you, Carter? How are you feeling about that kind of development? And do you think this is a deserving move for Jose Siri? Do you think you've not seen the effort from him?
There was just like an isolated incident where it was like a ground ball that he hit and he didn't really bust it out of the box, and then he got thrown out. And if he had been going full bore, maybe he makes it there safely. So that's a nasty look anytime that type of thing happens. I know the Yankees had something similar with Gleyber Torres, like he hit a long fly ball and it ended up grazing off the wall, but he didn't hustle, so it was like a single. But yeah, it's tough, especially because Siri's bat is just so volatile, but he's so valuable defensively. I don't know what to make of it, to be quite honest. It's kind of a weird situation. I trust Kevin Cash and the Rays front office. They're always going to do the right thing. If a guy's not giving effort, he's not giving effort. They don't deserve to play, period, full stop. So you need to see that from a guy, especially with the Rays. They have a higher standard. They're not going to put you out there. So I trust Kevin Cash. He's making the right decision because Siri's, he's not, I hate to say this, but he's not good enough to not give effort. Like he's not like an all-star caliber player. Like he's fantastic defensively, but he's so awful offensively. He's so volatile with the home runs and the strikeouts and the like. So yeah, you got to be giving max effort, especially the way he plays, especially his profile. So yeah, if he's not given full bore, then yeah, have a seat on the bench. We'll see what we have in Johnny DeLuca.
Yeah, and I guess this is like a scary question because like, he was so good. He was so good last year. So valuable last year. 30 home run power, really excellent defense, plus speed. Like he was the Mike Zunino of the outfield, right? Like when Mike Zunino was at his best, anyway.
Sure.
And then this year, it's just not been happening for him at all. And has he played himself out of the team long term?
I don't know. That's a good question. I'd say probably not. Like, he's too good defensively to really play himself out of that role long term. But then again, it's the Rays. If a team comes calling about him, they're always going to listen on everyone. I don't think DFA or anything is on the table for sure. Like, that's not an issue. But yeah, I mean, if he continues to just screw around, like if he's not doing his thing, then at some point, something's got to be done. So I don't know if the attitude continues to be an issue, then yeah, he could play himself out of the long-term plans. But for now, it's just hey man, like get your stuff together, that kind of thing.
Yeah, it's I think the good thing about Jose Siri is his speed and defense is so good that his floor is serviceable major league outfielder, like fourth outfielder, like. And he would be a good fourth outfielder to have. Like if the Dodgers had him as their fourth outfielder, they'd be fine with that, I think. But it's frustrating because we know the ceiling is higher than what he's doing right now, and he's actually producing pretty much at his floor. He's lying on his floor right now. That's where his production is. So I think he's lucky as well in that right now, like good center fielders, the Rays aren't like drowning in them like they are corner outfielders that are kind of dime a dozen. DeLuca can play the position, but again, he doesn't light the world on fire with his bat. Meisner could do it, but again, he's like a bit of an unknown quantity at the major league level. I don't know if he's a long-term fix there. And there's no real prospects on the way that you're like, oh, he's the center field guy that can play center field for the long-term future. So I think he's going to continue to get a ride, like you said, but hopefully this move is kind of a wake-up call for Siri. Otherwise they might look for options in the offseason. That's for sure. What do you guys think of the Siri situation for you guys tuning in? Be sure to let us know. Let us know on the social medias. You can tweet at us personally. You can see our socials down below. But more importantly, you can tweet us at RBLR Sports and RBLR Rays on every social media. If you want to get a live comment in on the live show right now, the best place to do that is watching us live over on YouTube. So if you go to youtube.com, right, RBLR Sports, you'll find our live stream and you can drop a comment. And if you're bringing heat, we might respond to it live on the show. So be sure to let us know. And speaking of bringing heat, it looks like Brandon Lau just demolished a baseball for a 2-run home run, putting the Rays ahead 2-0. That went a long way. When you guys see that, I've got the game in like a little bottom of my screen. Just keep an eye on it. Absolutely demolished it. 2-0 Rays in the bottom of the third. And speaking of people that are on a heater, it's time for my favorite segment. It is our bat and arm of the week. So let's talk about the bat and arm of the week. We came to a consensus on both of these guys. Carter, I've got to give it to you for the bat of the week because he's your guy. Who's our bat of the week this week?
Dylan Carlson. Oh, man, he's been so great. The other night when they had the walk-off win, he hit a bomb from the left side. He was hitting from there, and man, it was really great. You know, you could just kind of hear it off the bat. And, yeah, he's been great this year. Kind of I don't want to say a lone bright spot because they've been really playing really well offensively the past couple of days. But, you know, even in that Astros series, he was at least kind of putting it all together. So, yeah, I'm couldn't be more happy, couldn't be more pleased with Carlson's production in a Rays uniform. Looking like a real steal if he's able to keep this up, which probably not. But hey, just gotta ride the wave, you know, even if it's good luck or whatever the case may be. Gotta ride that wave of high, you know, randomness before he kind of regresses more to his true talent level. So yeah, it's been really fun to watch him at the plate recently.
Yeah, with the Cardinals this year, he was batting 198, 275 on base, 240 slugging.
Yeah.
His slugging was lower than his on-base percentage
Yeah.
for a 515 OPS. And then with the Rays, admittedly a small sample, 13 games, 270 average, 372 on base, 541 slugging for a 913 OPS, 3 home runs, 0 with the Cardinals, almost equaled his RBI total with the Cardinals. Is it just a case of he's getting better batted ball luck, or is there any? Have you noticed any change in him, Remy?
Yeah, I would say that I think I saw something on Twitter where he's leaning into more like pulled fly balls. There's definitely some luck though. I remember I think Cole posted something on like he was hitting a lot of ground balls to the lefty to the first base side of the infield. I don't think he's doing that as much, but definitely part of it is just like a scenery change. Like he's always been a talented outfielder. Everyone Cardinals fandom knows that. He just hadn't put it together with them. So maybe they're just, you know, the Rays are expert like horse whisperers or outfield whisperers. They're just telling them, you know, what they need to do to relax, be confident out there, and 3 home runs.
Yeah. 3 home runs with 0 this year. It's like, what? I don't know how he's done it. Hopefully it continues. That's all I can say. All right, arm of the week. It's gonna go to a man we've already talked about, so I won't harp too much on him. But it is the Carolina Reaper himself. It's Jeffrey Springs. Oh, we knew he was good, but we didn't know how quickly he'd be back to his former self. But he had an electric start just the other day against the Astros, 5 innings, 1 earned run. But overall, I think he did that last time out as well. Like he had a really good outing. He's pitched 10 innings this week. He put up half a win, 13 and a half strikeouts per 9, a 1.77 FIP. Like he's been doing it, and like you said, it's the command that's been leading the way. He's not been walking guys. He's walked 1 guy in his past 10 innings. So he's been dotting all of his pitches and doing exactly what we expected of a prime Jeffrey Springs. So this helps the team massively to have a consistent guy that you know can be lights out every 5 days. And we'll talk about it more in a bit, but the 2025 rotation is looking more and more spicy by the minute if we keep adding these chili peppers like the Carolina Reaper. That's for sure. Speaking of things that are spicy, I don't know if you've heard, or I don't know if you've been living under a rock or something, but we've been nominated for the Best of the Bay Podcast Award, Best Entertainment Podcast. And you can vote every single day. It's not just a one and done thing. If you voted last week when we reminded you, you can vote this week as well. You can vote every single day, and you can do it at the link down below. And there are also links in all of the RBLR social medias that can take you straight there. There's loads of different things that you can vote for. We're only asking you to vote for Best Podcast, vote for the RBLR Sports Podcast, because we don't just bring this amazing Rays podcast to you, but we also do a great Bucks podcast. Carter knows all about that, and you also knows about a bit about sports writing. as well, because he is also nominated for Best Sports Writer too. So we got a double dip there. We also do a great Lightning podcast. We do the Rowdies too. And of course, the Sun podcast. Big day for the Tampa Bay Sun because they're playing their very first game today, which is very, very exciting. So RB and R are big advocates of the Sun as well. We've been following them on this whole journey, so it's great to see them doing that. So be sure to drop us a vote at the links in all our socials for best podcast. It would mean a great deal for us. We've been nominated a couple of times, and we're hoping this year can be the time we can break through. Okay, perhaps some reasons for optimism, despite the kind of up and down season that we've had. So there's been reasons to feel a bit down on the team. I think playoff odds are now extremely long. Fangraphs have us at 3% at the moment. We're 6.5 out of the third wild card. Even if you've given up on playoff hopes, which I don't think is unreasonable, there are still lots of reasons for optimism. And the first one is the Rays now have the number 1 ranked farm system again in all of baseball. And it's been a couple of years since we did it. The Orioles were stealing our thunder for a while, but all their guys have, a lot of their guys have graduated. And the Rays, this past trade deadline, have done a lot of acquiring folks to get their farm system back to the cream of the crop. And I want to start with you, Remy. What prospects are you most excited for that you think kind of really help move the needle to the Rays getting to the best farm system in baseball again?
Yeah, so pretty much the main guy that they acquired at the deadline was for Rosarena. His name's Brody Hopkins. He's I think he's around 6'4", but he has just a really loud arsenal. He throws super hard. He's a supinator, so he's going to cut the ball. But also his supination means that that leads to a ton of plus breaking ball shapes. He throws a sweeper really hard, 88 with 12 horizontal. That's an elite shape. I can't stress how good that is. He's also got a harder curveball too. And the main thing I want to touch on about all these guys, though, the starters that they acquired, is they're taller guys with flat vertical approach angles on their fastball. So it's going to lead to whiffs at top of zone, and it just creates a lot of weak contact moving forward. A guy that I'm really excited to see and might steal that center field job at some point is Aiden Smith, though. He has a lot of loud, batted ball results. He's more of a pure hitter, I think, than Siri. And he's got great defense. He's on the younger side for where he is. I think he's an A-ball right now, but really like what he has, what they got in that package, and maybe we could see him being a center fielder for the big league team moving forward.
Yeah, both of those guys coming along on the Rosarena deal, they were both, the word I heard a lot around those guys are helium. They're expected to move through the system super fast. So while they're, A and high A guys right now, I think it would be, I think Hopkins, we expect to see in Double-A probably start of next year, probably start the season in Double-A, right? I think that's what we'd expect from him, and could be in Triple-A if he continues on the trajectory he is by the end of next year. Could even compete for a major league job, not this coming spring, but the spring after that, maybe, depending on where we're at there. And Aiden Smith, he's a guy that I've heard less about. I've heard he's just toolsy. Is that the best way to describe him?
Yeah,
he's definitely toolsy, but I mean, there's a lot to bet on. I think he was a high school bat coming out of the Pacific Northwest, so relatively unscouted. But I mean, the results that he put out before he got traded at deadline were just phenomenal. So Reyes had to go and get himself a center fielder.
Yeah, and there's a player to be named later in that trade too, as well. So we may steal a third prospect out of that deal with the Mariners as well. All we know is they can't be someone that was drafted this year, and they can't be on their 40-man. That's the only stipulations on the player to be named later. Carter, are there any prospects that are particularly exciting you that came along at the trade deadline?
Yeah, I mean, Aiden Smith was a big one just because of his high floor. Since, like Remy said, he's such a great center fielder defensively. Even if he doesn't quite reach his ceiling with the bat, the solid outfield defense gives him kind of a nice landing, even if he can't necessarily hit as much as he's projected to. He's got a really good arm. So yeah, I'm really excited about Aiden Smith. But I think the biggest Rays move that I saw was them trading for Dylan Lesko from the Padres. I was I don't want to say shocked because Jason Adam, a filthy reliever, definitely one of the better arms that was dealt at the deadline, but he's still a reliever. There's still kind of a ceiling on the impact that relief pitchers can have. So the return that they got from the Padres was just ridiculous. I mean, it's the Rays. You can never really be surprised. And AJ Preller, has he's always burning a hole in his pocket with his prospect. He never likes to hold on to him. So I kind of get it. But Dylan Lesko, he's just the classic, kind of buy low type of guy because he was a huge arm. He still is, but he just has a lot of injury concerns. So I think that's why the Padres were kind of maybe a little bit more lenient with him, in dealing to him to the Rays. But he's got that disgusting changeup, probably one of the best changeups in the minors. And if he can just develop kind of a third pitch, like a breaking ball, slider, or curveball, that'd be huge. But obviously the starting point is just stay healthy. If he can just get healthy, that'll be huge for him. And then they also got a catcher, JD Gonzalez, a lefty, only 18. He was drafted in the 3rd round a few years ago out of Puerto Rico. And I'm just really excited because, lefty catchers are always such a huge advantage. They have the long side platoon and everything. He's got a huge arm. So I'm really excited about those two guys, especially, as well as, Aiden Smith and then Hopkins, like Remy was talking about. But yeah, the Rays did just such an amazing job. The #1 ranking by pretty much every major, outlet in the baseball media world is well deserved. And they just, another year, another masterclass by Mr. Neander. So really exciting to see the future.
Yeah, he knows what he's doing. He really does. And I think you're so right about Lesko in terms of it's such a Rays target where it's a guy with filthy stuff, minging, we would say in the UK, absolutely minging. But let's see if we've heard this story before. Toolsy pitcher with great stuff, great build, has an injury history, and struggles to kind of maintain consistent command. Is that not the perfect Rays target of what?
Tyler Glasnow. That's
Tyler Glasnow. McClanahan had injury history when he got drafted, right? So they go after the guys that have injury history because it kind of weakens their value, and the Rays are banking on them kind of not getting injured again. It doesn't always work out, as I think we hit a kind of a real hard reality check last year with them betting on guys on arms with injury history where they all kind of got badly injured at the same time. But more often than not, you get some really good results. And Lesko, if there's one organization that you'd want him in to kind of figure himself out, it's the Rays organization. And like you said, the upside is so high as well. It's also Gonzalez and Lesko is a pretty good haul for Jason Adam on its own, but we also got Homer Bush Jr. as well in that deal, who I would comp him to maybe Chandler Simpson, who's already in the system, where he's he can make decent enough contact, but gosh, is he fast. So fast, really good fielder, can play the outfield. Probably has a little more oomph in his power than Chandler Simpson, who, is swinging a garden hose, basically. If it gets to the outfield, you're like, yeah. But yeah, getting all of those guys is great. Homer Bush could shape up to be a really solid role play outfielder at some point. And if he somehow manages to add a bit of bulk or a bit of raw power to him, he could be solid. I'm trying to think if there's any other prospects that we got. I mean, we got 3 from the Orioles as well. Remy, do you know much about the likes of Baumeister?
Yeah, I mean, Baumeister, he's pretty similar to a lot of the other guys that they acquired. Kind of got that flatter fastball, and he's a pronator, so he's going to throw a slider and a bigger curveball and decent changeup. It'll be interesting to see what they do with him moving forward. I think he's a starter right now, and he was selected pretty high overall in the draft, but I could see him pretty quickly becoming a reliever moving forward. They had Mac Horvath. They got him too. He's a really super utility player, very good. And I think that they also got, I think an outfielder, I forget his name, it's Hutzel or something. He's Hetzel, yeah. He's a kind of similar to, I mean, their type for center fielders, bat first, power guy, pretty good defense. So that's some of the guys that they got from that Eflin trade. And I mean, Eflin's been doing pretty good for the Orioles. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah, unfortunately, particularly at our expense one particular time as well. So not thrilled about that, but hopefully Etzel Baumeister and I forgot the other guy already.
Horvath.
Horvath.
He'll probably be the guy in that trade. I'm not gonna lie, but other guys are pretty good too.
Yeah. Oh gosh, I'm gonna get clipped in 5 years' time where I go, oh, the other guy, and then Horvath's hit for the cycle for the third time in a year or something like that. The last prospect I want to touch on is Theo Gillen. He was our first round draft pick this year, so not a trade acquisition, but drafted out of high school. And high school hitters tend to be kind of a riskier prototype to go for, but the Rays felt like they wanted to go get him. He's probably going to play outfield, but he was an infielder quite a lot of the time in high school. They're going to try and play him out in the outfield. He's athletic. He can run pretty well. He's got a really good hit tool. People reckon he's got the best hit tool out of the high schoolers in the draft class. And it's advanced for his age, only 18. So, a high school bat, he's going to go all the way down to rookie ball. It's going to be a long climb for him. But he's got a good makeup. He's got like the skills that could make his floor pretty high at the major league level if he can keep it up. Having a good hit tool early on and having a good kind of run and fielding tool is a good base to build off, really, as you grow into your frame. Power is going to come kind of by naturally growing and training every day. So he's a very interesting one as well. And he's immediately slotted into number 6 in the Rays system according to MLB.com as well. So he's a guy. And what the Rays did was they didn't get any headliner prospects at the deadline. They didn't get any number 1 prospects. They didn't get a Jackson Holiday or someone like that. But they just filled it out with loads of solid upside guys, right? And now they're just chock-a-block with those, which makes them just at every level a really, really strong organization from rookie ball all the way up to the major leagues, which is what you want. So you have a continuous wave of guys coming through that can always support in positions. I think it can be risky if you do what the Orioles have done, where loads of your prospects come up at the same time. It's worked out for them now, but the White Sox tried the same thing, right? With Jimenez, Robert, Kopech, all those guys. That didn't work. And now the rebuild starts again.
Yeah.
Start again. So it's good to just have little and often, as opposed to banking on one crop of talent, which the Rays are doing really, really well. Okay. The Rays are winning still. They're still up 2-0, which is lovely to see. But apart from the fact that we might end up sweeping the Diamondbacks, what, Carter, are some reasons to be optimistic about the Rays? What's some reasons to watch the Rays, even if you're looking at the team and you go, man, we're out of it. The playoffs are a distant memory. Why should I watch the 2024 Rays? Can you give us talk us off the edge?
For sure. Brandon Lau is so much fun. I mean, he's just such a great hitter. He's either going to stick around and be really great next year, or they'll trade him for a huge crop of prospects that are worth Brandon Lau, which is really, really good because he's one of the most valuable players in baseball right now. So he's outstanding. Obviously, the continued development of Junior Caminero is going to be really fun. Christopher Morel is also, an electrifying player. He'll either do something amazing that you've never seen, or he'll do something awful that you've never seen in the field. But either way, it's something new. So it's going to be exciting for him as well. So even if the Rays don't produce results, even if they don't necessarily make the playoffs this year, there's a lot of things to be excited about for next year, including, I think, a prospect that the Rays already had at the start of the season and everything, but Carson Williams. My goodness, I'm stoked for his arrival whenever he gets here. Some say ETA is next season, 2025. That might be a bit aggressive, but we'll see how his development plays out. Regardless of when he arrives, he's just so exciting. So there are players in the minors that are going to come up that are going to be great next season and moving forward. So there's reasons to still watch this team because it's baseball. That's probably the biggest reason. But yeah, there's a lot to be excited about for the Rays moving forward, even if they don't necessarily produce results in 2024.
Yeah, Brandon Lau, $10.5 million option. They're picking that up, right?
Oh, yep. Pressing that button real hard. Whether they keep him around or not, like I said, they might deal him because $10.5 million is a bit steep for the Rays. But even if they don't keep him around, it'll be because they found a great package. And if they do, then Brandon Lau's a great second baseman, one of the best in baseball. So either way, it's a huge win.
I guess something to keep an eye on is, it's the fit, right? Of how you fit all the players in.
Right.
So I think Caballero is living on a knife edge. I don't think he's a lock for the roster at all. Taylor Walls, I think, is a big discussion to have as well. But in terms of like definites that you'd want on your team, you've got Yandy, you've got Lau, you've got Caballero, and you've got Morel. That's 4 infielders, but none of them can play shortstop. So then you'd want at least two people that can play shortstop on your roster, right? So that means you would need Cabby and Walls as of right now. Can you fit them all on the roster, Remy? Can you fit Morel, Caminero, Lau, Yandy, Cabby, and Walls all on the roster full time?
Next year, I don't think so. Actually, next year, I agree. I think, Caballero should go. Maybe you can promote Williams, depending on like how he'd fare at AAA. I think it really comes down to like positional versatility of like a Caminero and a Morel. Like if Morel can somehow learn how to play like third, first, and maybe second, like even passively, because he's a horrible defender, but he has the athleticism and maybe figure it out. If you could do that and maybe he learns one corner outfield spot, like that's pretty good. You know, that's good for a guy who's like Randy Rosarena if he can play the infield sometimes.
Yeah.
And then for the other guys, I mean, Yandy, at some point, he's probably going to go, and same thing with Low, right, or Loud. Like, they're going to be flipped at the deadline if they become too expensive. But, you know, you still have a chance. I just checked. They're 6.5 games back. Maybe if the Royals start to fall off a cliff, it's possible to get that third wildcard spot. You know, you have to jump the Red Sox and the Mariners. But an interesting part of this, too, is that the Mariners competing for their division, I think that they're 3 games back of the Astros, something like that. So, like, it's still possible for things to get, like, tense. I wouldn't write the Rays off yet. They're, like, 40 games, 39 games left in the season. There's still a decent chunk to play. But it is coming down the wire, so you need to keep your eyes peeled on what they do.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. I mean, Williams, it's going to be an interesting timeline because the Rays are not a team to rush a guy. I think he's been good in AA. I don't think he's been, like, outstanding in AA in terms of hitting. Like, he's gone through really hot streaks and some slumps. He's been a bit like hot and cold. I think he'll start next season in AAA.
Yeah.
And he'll get time in big league camp. I just don't know how quickly he can go from AAA to the major leagues. It could be quickly. It could take a whole season. I don't know. I really don't know because we know he can field, right? But it's just the hit tool. He's like a bit streaky. But then, the guys we've got on the roster right now can field and are like, I don't even want to credit them by saying streaky hitters. They're just like not good hitters. So I guess it's worth a try, right? Yeah, loads of good reasons to watch the Rays, I think. It's all going to be about, I think, they're going to try and win now. Like, results are important. But it's also going to be around shaping up how best to position the team for 2025 and how to best line them up optimally for 2025. Because I think it's pretty consensus around Rays fandom, despite the mixed opinions on the 2024 season. The 2025 Rays are looking really, really dangerous, right? Do you feel that the 2025 Rays are like a sure lock playoff contender?
Yeah. I mean, definitely a contender. I nothing's guaranteed. Obviously, crazy things can happen, but I have no doubt that Shane McClanahan's going to come back in a full season of Jeffrey Springs. There are just so many reasons that the Rays will be competitive next year. Also who knows what happens with the Juan Soto situation in New York, and he's such a huge pillar of that offense. I mean, that's going to be a thing to watch, especially if you're a Rays fan, just because, Yankees direct competition and all that. So definitely a lot of reasons to believe in the Rays next season. Also, they're just a stupid successful franchise. Like this team doesn't lose a whole lot especially in the regular season. So having one season kind of a setback usually means that the bounce back is going to be even bigger. So I'm very high on the Rays for 2025, even if 2024 doesn't necessarily pan out the way that, they would have liked or we would have liked. They're still going to be great in 2025. I have no doubt.
Yeah. I mean, McClanahan, Springs, Rasmussen, Bradley, Bars as the rotation next year. Oh, and I forget Ryan Pepio as well.
And Zach Littell.
And Zach Littell. Like, how What are we supposed to do with all these arms? Who do you think, Remy? You're a pitching expert. Someone's got to go. I mean, let's assume they're all healthy. Let's assume they're all healthy.
Right.
Someone's got to go. Who, in your opinion, is most likely to get the hook?
I think Littell's a free agent at the end of this year, so he's probably not going to come back. Rasmussen, I don't think he's. We've talked about this, in our chat before with Ben, but there's very, very strong doubts in his ability to start at this point, just due to health. Right? He's had 2.5 Tommy Johns. You don't want to push that, make his arm, go explode further like Johnny Venters. So he's probably going to be a bulk guy moving forward. Tyler Alexander, he's not staying on the roster after this year. Maybe you could trade from your surplus. Maybe you trade away his Springs if his results align well with the team. But just overall, I think that there's going to be more space than we think moving forward. And I just wanted to quickly air some grievances with the Rays. It just seems like they just the window for them to be successful to some degree. It seems like it's not lined up well. Like moving over the last couple of years, 2020 they definitely did well. They went to World Series. 2021, you make the playoffs and you're out in the first round against the Red Sox. But just 2022, it felt like the year a little bit. It felt like they were doing really good. Things were clicking. And then, tremendous amount of injuries, losing to the Guardians. It just seems like it hasn't really clicked yet. Last year, a ton of injuries too. So maybe 2025 is the year for something special to happen. I don't know. We'll see what they do in the offseason.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to throw all of this direction, but if this 2024 Rays team had a 7-win above replacement shortstop on it,
we
weren't fielding Walls and Caballero every day, how much better would this team have been? You know what I mean?
And maybe a starter, like a true front of the line guy who doesn't get shelled. So.
Yeah, so it's been some bad luck the past couple of years. 2023 was 2023 to me felt like the year until it wasn't.
Yeah.
Everything kind of fell off really quickly. And I think we're still kind of dealing with the kind of fallout from the stuff that happened in 2023, both the Wanda situation, but also we didn't have 3 of our 5 best starters on the team for the first 2 months of the year. And I think that's hard to plan for any team. If the Yankees lost Judge and Cole and Cortez and Gill for a whole year, then they would struggle. If the Orioles lost Gunnar Henderson plus Means plus Rodriguez, they would struggle. It's just, I feel like everything that could have went wrong has gone wrong, and it's not been short-term problems. There've been mistakes that last a long time, and I don't know how you fix the Wanda problem, because if what has been accused of him is true, then he can't play for the team again. But also, you can't just pick up a 7-win shortstop somewhere. I don't know what you do in that scenario.
Promote Carson Williams. That's what to do.
Yeah.
Big.
That's right. Yeah, you send him up there, and then he becomes a 7-win shortstop. That's
right. Exactly. And Aiden Smith could end up being a high win player as well. So it's just kind of things have gone wrong, but I don't think it's anything the Rays in particular have done wrong that they could have helped. I mean, I've been I've kind of gotten over it now, but the only thing that I got really confused about was the catching situation. In terms of what I think the Rays were really weird about and un-Rays but I don't want to keep beating on a broken horse. I want to end on a positive, and I genuinely believe that the Rays could trade from their surplus of excellent starting pitching to get a couple of extra bats that could really help them out. There could be someone on the White Sox. I really think it might be worth trying to take a flyer on Luis Robert. I think he'd be such a good fit. I think the Rays will, with the money they've got off the books, will make a run. I don't think they will sign him, but I think they will make a run at Juan Soto.
Yeah, I'll be looking forward to the next story that says they offered Juan Soto X amount of dollars, and then whatever team signs him swooped in and offered him like 10 million more a year. But at least they're in it, that's great.
I think they'll put in like a 2-year, $200 million deal or something like that for Juan Soto.
Yeah, and then their payroll will still be like 10th or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was going to say, like, or really quickly, I mean, I was just, kind of explaining my frustrations because it's kind of like felt that way. I don't really have any animosity towards the team. I do think that they should spend on someone who's like worth their time, because although, it's great to offer Soto and Judge like however many millions for deals, like they're not going to sign here. They just aren't. They're going to go to a place that has that has that atmosphere, competitive, whatever, big market. I just think that, maybe they should trade for someone relatively large that could fill that gap and that star power role. But it just seems like that, maybe the team is really lacking that, a star right now. They don't really have a star.
It's true, they don't have a star. Randy was kind of that for a bit. His production wasn't star level, but he was kind of the guy you could put on a poster pretty safely. Yeah. I think Luis Robert matches perfectly. Center field is a position of need. He's a good player. He has pop. He can play defense. He could get injured maybe, but I think he's maybe the guy that's out there and would be on the market trade wise.
I think I'm more in love with the idea of Luis Robert than I am with the actual reality of Luis Robert.
Yeah, the IL stints are quite a bit for him. He gets injured very frequently, but he does 2023 hit 50 home runs.
Absolutely. So. And a really good defender out there too. So super high ceiling, but a really low floor, because you're either going to get an all-star borderline MVP caliber season, or he's not going to play. He's going to play maybe 60 games. And it's well, dang, we were paying, that would be awesome. And I'd love for the Rays to do that, because I'm a huge Luis Robert Jr. guy. But yeah, because he's kind of expensive too. He's getting 20 million next year, and then he's got I think a $25 million team. I don't know, it's around there, but yeah, it's a lot of money for a guy that might not play 60 games. You might not reach triple digits in games played. So I don't know. It would be really fun though, because they could buy low on him. The White Sox are probably not going to get a whole lot for him because of that exact reason. He doesn't stay healthy. So who knows?
Who knows? I mean, listen, the Rays are going to go get someone that we have never even thought about. Exactly. And that's going to be the guy. That's right. And we'll fall in love with him, and that's how it's going to go, because they acquire, develop, dominate, repeat. We got it on a T-shirt. It's how it works, and it's all good. It's all good. But the Rays are just always a fun watch and an interesting watch. They're the thinking man's baseball team, I would say. And we've got a lot of smart and thinking fans. And if you've liked what you've heard today, if you've liked the discussion that we've had today, thank you. And if the best way to show your appreciation, or to let us know that you liked what you heard, was to drop us a like wherever you listen to this, whether it was on X or YouTube, and subscribe to us on the socials and on YouTube, because then you will be notified whenever we go live and you can hear all about it. So thanks again for tuning in. Be sure to leave us a like or a follow, or if you disagree or agree with something we've said, let us know. What's your dream Rays target for 2025? Let us know in the YouTube comments, or drop us one of these down below on the socials. We'd love to hear from you. But in the meantime, that is going to wrap up our show for today. I want to say a big thank you to Carter and Remy for joining me today and being excellent co-hosts along with me. Otherwise, I'm going to let you enjoy the rest of this game. We're up 5-0 on the D-backs right now, so let's go sweep today. Razor.
Good luck.
Thank you for tuning into this presentation by RBLR Sports. On your way out of the stadium, please remember to like and subscribe.